So the world is currently right now going through a crisis of love, and it's hurting. Lots and lots of people now are checking out of intimacy, relationships, marriage. Men don't trust women anymore. Women don't trust men anymore. People are seeking superficial pleasure, but not seeking true, deep connection and intimacy. And who to blame for this, I don't know. We can blame it on perhaps Christianity, which has always had a very funny view about love and intimacy, about marriage and all that, celibacy. That created some very weird conditions that this whole movement of free love was riding on and in response to. And that itself was a disaster because it took intimacy and it cheapened it, took out every last drop of value within it. And as such, people nowadays do not know anything about love. They do not know anything about intimacy. And very, very few people nowadays find it. At the same time, deep in our very core, one of the most innocent things inside us is the search for intimacy, something that feels like paradise to us from the very youngest age when we first start to realize. And it feels like something that we can achieve until we become jaded and cynical by the situation we arrive at in life. And again, even in the religious world, even in the Jewish world, the divorce rates are up, the sadness is up, the happiness is way down. And also, a very parallel problem is that people do not know how to love God. They don't even believe in that. Some people even find it rather icky. So, I'm here to explain how to get out of this problem, how to get out of this mess. The Torah is, of course, the answer. The Torah is the most romantic guide to intimacy in the whole world. Judaism is the most romantic of all the religions, and you'll soon see why. You may not have realized this, but it's all there. It's in the Kabbalah predominantly, which is why you'll find that the Hasidim are generally more in touch with this, whereas people who do not study Kabbalah and have a general offhandedness to the Kabbalah and the Kabbalistic teachings as filtered through the Hasidic lens, which is the way to turn Kabbalah into a relationship, which is what it was always meant to be. The Baal Shem Tov was taught by Achia Shiloni, for example, who taught King David. So this is all about reconnecting back with that intimacy that is in our soul. It is our purpose. It's the goal of creation. It's Hashem's goal in creation too. And it's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's not icky, it's not cringe, and the only reason it's come across that way is because we've lost touch, because we're afraid, and various other reasons. So we need to turn to the Kabbalah. We need to turn to the Hasidic interpretation, which is the soul of the Kabbalah, which means how to use the Kabbalah and interpret the teachings in the Zohar to understand how to apply them to all relationships, starting from our own relationships to our relationship with Hashem. But let's just start at the very basics. What produces love? How do we love somebody else? Well, a very important step in loving others is, believe it or not, loving the superficial. For example, even in Hasidic dating, which is supposed to be the most holy and chaste form of dating, the whole point of the date is to be as selfish as possible and say, what is it about this person that is good for me that I can get along with? Am I attracted to them? We have to decide whether they are attractive to us. We have to examine their beauty. We have to look at their personality. We have to notice all their flaws, the things that bother us, and take real careful note of that. And if something even superficial bothers us, we are encouraged to say, okay, this is not your spouse. The point of that is to firstly create that initial spark, that initial attraction, and produce a very superficial, immature love. Don't get me wrong. And by the way, this is what most of the world has honed in on and focused on and turned into its own idol now. They're trying to take that immature form of love and replace real intimacy with that, and that's part of the disaster. But that's not what this video is about. But think about it. Now, what we're talking about here is that if something about the other person is bothering you, it's going to get in the way. Get in the way of what? Well, that's the higher form of love. In fact, the highest form of love. We're going to go through several steps. So the point is, okay, You're superficial. You don't like their big nose. You don't like their freckles. Whatever it is. You don't like their voice. Okay? You don't like their job. You need to find somebody who makes you feel comfortable in every single way. You have to have chemistry. And what chemistry means is that this person makes you feel masculine if you're a man and makes you feel feminine if you're a woman. This person makes you feel comfortable in your gender. I can be a man around this girl and I feel like a man and I don't have to put anything on. I can just be myself, but myself now feels manly. So therefore, I feel comfortable being a man around her. That's your sign that she's your soulmate. Yes, Judaism believes in soulmates. Very, very clearly. You're looking for the other half of your soul so that you can choose her rather than just be destined for her or him. Another thing that I discuss in other videos. And when you meet that person, the way you know is that you feel comfortable being you. You feel at home. And it's a feeling you can't miss. So there you go. That's your clue. But again, we're not here to talk about every aspect. We're trying to talk about love itself. What is love? What is intimacy? So again, it starts off with a superficial attraction to the benefits that you can get from this person. Literally, it is. And that is a very valid step, so long as it doesn't become the be-all and end-all. Then it becomes absolute evil. But at this stage, that's what it is. Now, the very moment you put the ring on their finger, it's now no longer about any of those things. They all have to go out the window. Now it's about the person themselves. Now, I'm going to take a quick detour into the Kabbalah behind this, just to show that this is sourced, and for those of you that like to see the inner workings of your soul and of creation, to get a basis for the understanding, but feel free to skip it if you feel like you don't have a head for it. Everybody's been given a different type of brains, and they're all valid and equal before Hashem. So, for those of you that want to know, the whole world is created through Hashem's speech, meaning he spoke words, and words are composed of letters. All the worlds, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya, are created via divine letters from the Malchut of Atzilut, meaning Hashem himself, as he expresses himself, spoke the world into existence and created a creation that can look back at him and point to him and say, this is my God, i.e. they feel separate. Okay? You should know, though, that it goes all the way up. These letters are spiritual. They're not like forms of ink on a page. They're very, very lofty. But at the same time, letters is a good analogy because they are very superficial. The words that I speak are not me, and they don't detract from me at all. I can say the same words again and again and again and still be me, without any diminishment. However, the words I speak are coming from me, so therefore they're my words. So Hashem's words are coming from him, and they're very, very lofty and holy. And everything is created by Hashem's words. But the point is that they are a creation from nothing, and they're completely nothing compared to him himself, at every step of the way. So the words that the worlds are created from are nothing compared to the Sefirot of Atzilut. They're creations from nothing. Now, the Sefirot of Atzilut are also creations from nothing. So Chokhmah, the highest Sefirah, is created from the letters of Keter, which are much loftier, mazalot. Again, they're not letters like we understand letters. They are much loftier. Even Keter of Atzilut is created from the letters of Adam Kadmon. They're just the breath that emerges from his mouth. Again, very, very superficial compared to that level, that stage of creation, that very lofty first primordial stage of creation. And therefore, compared to Adam Kadmon, even Atzilut is as nothing, is superficial. Even Adam Kadmon is created from the letters of Tiharu Ila'ah, the supernal purity of Or Ein Sof. So even Adam Kadmon is as nothing compared to Hashem's infinite light. And as we know, even Hashem's infinite light is nullified utterly to his essence, which is the very top. So all of these are considered yesh me'ayin compared to Hashem himself. However, what do we know from all this? We know that these create all of the worlds. And what do we know about these worlds? We know there's an infinite number of them. And every single level, one above the other, is beyond infinite compared to the one beyond it, is ineffable compared to the one below it. These are all the different levels of Gan Eden that the soul will ascend through as we climb the ladder of closeness to Hashem. So if you understand the point I'm trying to make, it's this. We are supposed to love Hashem, starting off in superficial ways. But those superficial ways gradually take leaps and bounds to what is considered essential, one by one. And then we realize that even that essence is superficial to the one above it. And then we get deeper and deeper in love with Hashem. However, there is one particular simsum that is really important to mention right now, which is the simsum between Atzilut and Biyah, Beriah, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. Because everything from Atzilut up is nullified to Hashem itself. It does not see itself as separate from Hashem. It's Hashem, really. Hashem expressing himself, not somebody else. But the lower world, the Biyah, is an independent existence from Hashem. Even though it's still nullified to him, from his point of view, it sees itself, we see ourselves as separate from Hashem. Okay? And when we marry him, when we choose him and become one with him, this is called a Yehuda Tata'a. And a Yehuda Tata'a is the very purpose of creation. This means that what Hashem wants most of all is creations who feel separate from him, who are separate from him, and they come to choose him. This is the ultimate humility and romance of Hashem. He does not want robots. He does not even want angels. He wants somebody who can say no, somebody who doesn't feel forced, even in the slightest. And that person should become one with him. That's the purpose of creation. That is Dira bitachon. But what you should know is that there is a love that goes even beyond this. But what I want to get to by the end of this video is that there is a love that corresponds to something even higher than this. Something above Atzilut becomes one with Hashem. And that is a true oneness that is much greater, where it's completely nullified to him. It doesn't even see itself as its own existence. Sounds scary, so bear with me. But just to point out that this corresponds to Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael begins with two lines. The first is Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Then the second line is Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Both of those are saying the same thing, but the second one is talking about the Yichud Tata'a, and the first one is talking about Yichud Ila'a. So the first one ends in Echad, which is a true oneness, where we become actually one. The second one, Va'ed, is corresponding to a oneness that comes from a being that feels independent, and then it gives up its life for Hashem. So that is the type of love I want to talk about now. Back to normal non-Kabbalistic terminology. When a person first gets married, like I said, it's time to let go of the things about the other person. I'm not married to him for his money. I'm not married to her for her looks. I need to get beyond that. I need to get onto something real. Because deep down in our hearts, if we found out that our spouse married us for our money or for our looks, we'd be offended. It's pretty obvious, right? Now, what are we going to love if not their money and their looks? Well, the first stage is coming to be grateful for them. Marriage is an opportunity to serve each other. And as we serve each other, we start to realize that they are more than just a benefit. And I like them for more than what they can give me. I'm starting to like what I can give them just as much. And this gratitude for the other and for the relationship produces a higher form of love, a more real form of love. I'm actually grateful to you now. And now it's about you. It's not about the things about you so much. However, gratitude is quite a lower form of love still. There's levels to go. For example, most people are told to love Hashem because of all the good that he gives you. And I would say most people say, well, yeah, I'm grateful to Hashem and I like him. To say I love him, a bit hard. I'm not sure I'd call it love in the traditional sense. Maybe it's a form of love, but everybody would admit that This is not the highest form of love. And surely the supreme commandment to love Hashem, which is obviously associated with the great good that he's come to give us, can't just be this, right? So this is where Chassidut starts to tell us about an even higher form of love. This is where we start to contemplate the greatness of Hashem. Truly, truly contemplate it with our intellect. We reflect upon how the whole world is huge and amazing, and it's full of all kinds of goodnesses that we can't even comprehend. They're coming into existence from nothing every single moment. And when I say coming from nothing, I don't just mean they exist and I don't know how to make something exist, but I can see how it works. I'm saying I don't even know how it works. I don't know what is love. To say that it's just a hormonal reaction in my body, that can't be all of it. That can't be all of it. We've never been able to create an AI or a machine or a robot that can feel that, and we can't even imagine how to do so. I've got a video about qualia if you want to see a little bit more about that, and I'm going to be talking about it more. But generally speaking, there is an existence that is even higher than just physics and material existence. And that starts to blow our mind and make us feel very impressed that God could do something like that. He's even greater than I thought. And then you start to learn the Kabbalah, you learn about all the amazing worlds, how they go up and up and up. There's the lower Gan Eden, where even a second's worth of pleasure in there is nothing compared to all of the pleasure of the world that has ever existed and combined. And then you hear that there's a higher Gan Eden over the lower Gan Eden, and that one has to pass from the lower to the higher through the river of fire, just to help us forget about the lower pleasures, because they are nothing compared to the higher pleasures, and there would be a distraction. Just like the lower pleasures of the world are a distraction for the higher pleasures of Gan Eden. And then you find out more and more until you realize it goes on forever. There's beyond Gan Eden, there's another stage, and there's an infinite number of stages. And then you seriously start to contemplate the greatness of Hashem. Then you're told that he's beyond all of that altogether, and wow. So this arouses a much more profound form of love, a much higher form of love. Now, this is a lifetime's work, don't get me wrong. Now, this form of love also appears in a marriage. At some point, we start to realize just how incredible our spouse is. And that produces a much more authentic form of love. You're really starting to love the person now. And you're getting way beyond all the benefits and things about them. It's not even about those anymore. It's not about how those benefits appeal to you. In and of themselves, they're appealing. In and of themselves, they just arouse a love in you that comes from awe. And so anybody who achieves this level of love is doing very, very good. They're in the 99th percentile of people in the world in terms of the love in their relationships. And there's plenty to learn about this. And this is a veritable Garden of Eden in and of itself. This is having a Garden of Eden in your life, meaning you are now experiencing true love. And this love is so profound that it makes the initial love, the infatuation, which is the one that everybody celebrates, seem pathetic in comparison. Believe it or not. It's a fiery love. Your heart wells up. You can cry over this love. So this type of love represents climbing the ladder. We started off loving for the benefits. Then we started loving for the gratitude of the service and the familiarity and something a bit more profound than that. Then we're starting to climb the ladder of the person themselves. A person initially, to you, is just somebody on the outside that you don't know. And therefore, you only really have a connection to the benefits. You can only see their looks, and that's pretty much all you know about them the first time you meet them. Then you hear about their bank account. Then you spend time with them, and you get to know their personality. You experience their love. You experience the service of them. You experience what it's like to live with them. You experience what it's like to serve them. You suddenly start to experience the profound pleasure of just being in the presence of this amazing person that you have got to deeply understand and know. You're very familiar with them. Is there anything beyond this? Actually, yes. As Rabbi Manis Friedman likes to point out over and over and over, despite the fact that this love is extremely profound, authentic, fantastic, it's not technically any better than how we started. It is relatively better, but it's still within the same category of the things about the person. Even their very love is a thing about them. Even God's infinite light is a thing about him. It's not him. And don't get me wrong, like I said, as you climb the ladder of learning about God, you reach that point of his light, the light that is with him on his level. It's the highest expression of him. It's the source of pleasure, meaning every other pleasure in the world, it comes from external, but this is pleasure itself. How can you not love that? When you realize that his pleasure is the best pleasure, it's the purest pleasure, is purity itself. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not him. And that will bother some people. Some people, when they are told that love is not real, connection is not real, the best you can do is love the highest expression of the other person. But there's no such thing as loving the person themselves. Well, that's not true. There is a phrase, Imcha lo chafatzti. That which is with you I don't want. Even Hashem's light, which is described as being with him, even that which is Imcha, i.e. his very name, which is the same gematria as Mekor, the source of everything, the source of life. Mekor Chaim has the same gematria as Or Ein Sof, and it's the Mekor Ta'anugim, it's the source of pleasure itself. Even that is not him. And even that I don't want. I only want him. What does that even mean? Well, what does it mean to connect to somebody when you take away all the things? The person themselves. And what is marriage if it's not that? Every wife famously turns to her husband and says, "What is it that you love about me?" And every husband knows there's no correct answer. No matter what he says, it's wrong. What he should say, this is the answer, is, "I don't love any of the things about you. Are you crazy? I love you. I want you. I need you. You and me. That's all I want." Anybody who's been married for a long time and it's been successful will understand this. Many people achieve this state without learning Torah, but very few nowadays. We've been given the ability to achieve that in our soul, in our body. It just all works. Hashem has planned the world that we can do it ourselves, but at great peril. And when society is not built right, fewer and fewer people can do it. When society doesn't even know about this profound truth and mocks it, says there's no such thing. There's no such thing as true love. What are you talking about? You might as well get the best that you can, get the most out of it that you can. And everybody is fundamentally alone. No. The truest form of love, and it's called masculine love, by the way, is I want only you. As the Alter Rebbe sang, I want nothing at all. I don't want your Gan Eden. I don't want your Olam Haba. I want nothing. I want only you, Hashem. Every woman in the world wants a husband to say that. And she deserves to hear that as well. Because who you are, yourself is you, and everything else is just one of the things about you. And by the way, this is a love where you lose yourself to the other person. You truly do merge. As the Kotzker says, if I am I because I am I, and you are you because you are you, then I am I and you are you. Sounds good, right? And then he says, but if I am I because you are you, and you are you because I am I, then I am not I and you are not you. That sounds bad, right? Like we're not being authentic. You shouldn't define yourself by others. But if you note, he doesn't actually say which is right and which is wrong, which is good and which is bad. The first lesson, which is good, is that you are you because you are you. You have an essence, a self that is beyond all expression, even beyond your soul itself. Etzem neshama. You. Ineffable, unchangeable, the actual person expressing. Understand that. Understand your greatness and also understand the greatness of others. However, don't think that you're stuck alone forever because of this. I am I because I am I. And that's it. The truth is, I am I because you are you. I am I because Hashem made me and I am one with him. I just don't realize it, even in this lower world of independent beings. And when I realize that I want nothing but you alone, and now I can say, I am not I anymore. I can't even say, you are you anymore. I am not I. There is something new. There is a oneness between us that is beautiful, profound, the very purpose of creation, where I lose my identity, which means I'm no longer looking out for me anymore. I'm not looking for the benefits, not even the Gan Eden, because all I want is you. So therefore my entire identity becomes you, meaning all I think about, all I live for, all I will die for is you, 100%. Much greater pleasure for me than serving myself. So this form of bittul is not scary. Your loss of identity is romantically beautiful. And we should all believe in it because this is how we're built. It's in our soul. It's the purpose of creation. And don't let anybody say, or any experiences in your life make you jaded or cynical about it. Study Torah, work on bitachon and trust. Bring yourself back to your innocent, childlike vision of the world, where real, true love, that is not even called love because love is just a thing. The best word we have is need. You need the one that is the other half of who you are. You need to become one with Hashem, but first he wants you to become one with the other half of your soul, your soulmate. And that oneness is so profound, it's beyond all words, even love and even need, even though need is much higher than love. Does that make sense? Shkoyach, we'll talk about this more.